what remains unclear is quite how this happened. So she doesn't have any recollection of the incident. There appear to be no witnesses to it. But the medical team are saying that the injuries are consistent with being struck by either a horse's head or its legs. Now, we know she's an experienced equestrian and knows her way around horses and often goes out to see her horses in the fields of an evening. She was on foot when this happened. But, unless the details come back to her personally over time, it's not sure quite how she sustained the injury at this stage.
Now, she's often so fondly referred to as the hardest working royal for carrying out the most engagements of any family member. Princess Anne is expected to make a full and swift recovery and will hopefully return from hospital back home this week. Sarah Hewson, the royal correspondent, is here again with us. Sarah, good morning.
Morning to you, Rosie.
It sounds as though we've got positive news. A full recovery is underway.
It does indeed, Rosie. And Princess Anne, as you said, the hardest working royal, known as a stoic, no nonsense, no fuss. So it takes something to put her into hospital. What that something was, we don't really know exactly because it appears that Princess Anne may have suffered temporary memory loss during an incident at her Gatcombe Park estate on Sunday evening. What we do know is she was taking a walk on her estate in the evening. There were horses nearby, and Princess Anne suffered a minor head injury, it's described by Buckingham Palace, and a concussion. Now, doctors say that her head injuries are consistent with either being hit by a horse's leg or a horse's head. Perhaps she was head-butted by a horse. Emergency services called to the scene, an air ambulance was dispatched. It wasn't required to take her to hospital. She did travel by road ambulance to Southmead Hospital in Bristol, was admitted there. She spent 2 nights there so far, and we're told she's expected to be discharged later on this week. She's there for observation, for tests, for example, but it does mean she's missing quite a lot of engagements in what is a busy schedule for her this week.
Yeah, and she always has a busy schedule, doesn't she? And she's really lent upon by other members of the royal family, particularly while the king hasn't been able to perform so many royal duties. Of course, we know, Catherine's been off long-term sick. She is a vital part of the royal machine.
She really is, Rosie. And as you say, especially now with the slimmed down monarchy, even slimmer due to the health issues concerning the King and the Princess of Wales. The Princess Royal has always had an incredibly busy diary. There's just been more attention on it, which perhaps she wouldn't be that fond of over recent months. This week, there were due to be 8 engagements taking place. She would have been in Edinburgh today at an agricultural conference. She was due to whiz back to London for the Japanese state banquet this evening, then straight back to Edinburgh for the conclusion of the conference tomorrow, then down to Hampshire for a sailing engagement, more engagements in London. And on Sunday and Monday, she was due to be in Canada for an official visit there. That is not taking place now as well on the advice of doctors. It really does take something to slow Princess Anne down. But I should say it's not her first concussion. As an able horsewoman and keen rider, she's been there before. She has had memory loss before, including during the 1976 Montreal Olympics, where she doesn't remember the second part of her round. And so she will know that the most important thing for her to do right now is to rest and to be under the observation of the medical teams.
Yeah, for sure. She's quoted in the New Times this morning saying, "One thing about horses and sport is you have to prepare for the unexpected and you've got to think through the problems that are likely to occur." That was in 1984 that she said that. I mean, she's so fond of horses and understands the risks that comes along with spending time with them and riding them.
Yes, she does. I mean, I mentioned the incident in the Olympics in 1976. Her brothers, she wrote in one of her books, she wrote that her brothers had mocked her afterwards and said the second part of her round, which she doesn't remember, happened after her fall, was actually her best, and perhaps that
Yeah.
would be kicked in the head more often. She had another incident that year where she was knocked unconscious and had to spend 2 days in King Edward VII hospital. She knows the risks. She's pretty tough, and I'm sure she will be back to full duties as soon as she possibly can.
Yeah, and I think she's teaching the next generation, her 5 grandchildren, how to ride too.
Yes, she is. And I think that's one of her greatest pleasures, passing on that love of all things equestrian to her grandchildren. Her daughter Zara Tyndall and her son Peter Phillips both live in properties on the Gatcombe Park estate. They were there on the evening that this incident happened, as was her husband, Admiral Sir Tim Lawrence. But she's very close to her children and her grandchildren, and passing on her love of the sport.
Sarah, thank you so much. Sarah Hewson, the royal correspondent. The King's been, we're hearing here from the Times, been kept closely informed and joins his whole royal family in sending his fondest love and well wishes to the Princess for a speedy recovery.
And Princess Anne is in hospital with a minor head injury and concussion after an accident which is thought to have involved a horse. Kate Mancy is assistant editor and royal editor at the Times. Good morning, Kate.
Morning.
Well, so what do we know then or not know about this accident?
So it was on Sunday evening. Princess Anne sustained head wounds and concussion. An air ambulance was scrambled and she was taken to a nearby hospital, not in the air ambulance as it happens, but she was treated at the scene and then conveyed by road with her husband, Sir Tim Lawrence. We understand she's in hospital, is expected to be there for the rest of this week. She's doing well, we're told, that she is expected to make a swift recovery. And she's there for observation tests and any treatment. But what remains unclear is quite how this happened. So she doesn't have any recollection of the incident. There appear to be no witnesses to it. But the medical team are saying that the injuries are consistent with being struck by either a horse's head or its legs. Now, we know she's an experienced equestrian and knows her way around horses and often goes out to see her horses in the fields of an evening. She was on foot when this happened. But, you know, unless the details come back to her personally over time, it's not sure quite how she sustained the injury at this stage.
Goodness me, and might never be known. But she wasn't, as you said, she was on foot. She wasn't on the horse.
That's right. So she was just walking. You know, we've heard Zara talk about her mother walking. Often she'd come back from royal engagements and she'd still have the kind of hair and makeup and pearl earrings on, and she'd put the welly boots on and go and feed the chickens, because she lives in Gatcombe Estate, this kind of quite a large rambling estate, which was a gift from the Queen when she married Captain Mark Phillips, her first husband. And she stayed there. And on the evening of Sunday, her daughter and her son were both on the estate. Now they still live there, Zara Tyndall and Peter Phillips. So they were close by. But it has become a kind of refuge for her over the years. You know, for about 40 years, she held the Gatcombe eventing festival there, a big horse show, which sadly had to close for kind of financial reasons a couple of years ago. But it's really the heart of everything that she loves and everything that she does. And it's also this kind of big family hub where all the different characters associated with Princess Anne lived. Even her ex-husband lived there for several years in a cottage there after they split up.
And so she's in hospital. Do we know how long she's going to be in hospital for?
They're saying it depends on medical advice, but they're hoping that she'll be out by the end of the week. Now, she was due to fly to Canada on official duties representing the King, but that's no longer going to happen. We won't see her tonight at the state banquet at Buckingham Palace, which is going to be hosted in honour of the Emperor and Empress of Japan on their inward state visit. So clearly it's going to take some time for her to come back. She's 73 years old. And although she's fit and well, any head injury obviously is going to cause them some sort of concern to her medical team, and no doubt the family as well.
Kate, thank you very much for that. That is Kate Mancy. She's assistant editor and royal editor at the Times.